Kaido's Paradox, a deep dive into the world's strongest creature. In the grand pantheon of One Piece titans, few characters command the same presence as Kaido, the king of the beasts. His introduction was legendary, his title absolute. In a one-on-one fight, always bet on Kaido. Yet, as the dust settled on the Wano arc, a fascinating debate has erupted within the community. A discussion that challenges the very nature of his strength. The core question is this: was Kaido truly the pinnacle of power, or was he a master of all trades, but the absolute master of none? This isn't to downplay his immense power. Kaido is, by any measure, a complete fighter. He boasts devastating offense, near impenetrable defense, monstrous recovery, and mastery of all three forms of haki, all amplified by a mythical Zoan devil fruit. He's a walking calamity. However, when we break down his individual attributes and compare them to the series' other top-tier specialists, the picture becomes more nuanced. His raw destructive power, for example, is terrifying, but is it definitively greater than Akainu's? Magma, which can permanently scar the very landscape? His speed is formidable, but it doesn't approach the light speed movement of Kizaru. The most heated point of contention is undoubtedly his haki, especially when placed against red-haired Shanks. Proponents of Shanks' superiority point to a single, definitive feat: the moment he paralyzed a Marine Admiral, Ryokugyu, from miles away with a blast of pure Conqueror's haki. This was a display of haki as a weapon in and of itself, a level of control and intimidation that we never saw from Kaido. The argument is that if Kaido possessed this level of haki dominance, his fights, particularly against Luffy, would have played out very differently. He could have simply overwhelmed his opponents with his will alone. However, the defense for Kaido is just as fierce. They argue that this is a matter of fighting style, not a lack of power. Kaido is a brawler, a dragon in humanoid form. His method is to infuse his haki directly into his kanabo, creating attacks like the Thunder Bagua that combine physical might with devastating haki. He doesn't flex his haki from a distance because his entire being is a weapon. He proved he could clash evenly with Luffy's advanced haki in Gear 5, demonstrating that his own proficiency is unquestionably at the highest level, even if it's applied differently than Shanks's. Then there's the question of his legendary durability, which has recently been recontextualized by the arrival of the Five Elders on Egghead. Kaido's toughness was the stuff of legend. He was a being who couldn't even kill himself. Yet, we saw him grunt in pain from Luffy's Red Rock. In contrast, Saint J. Garcia Saturn, one of the Elders, seemed to shrug off similar attacks and displayed a form of regeneration that appears more like a supernatural law than physical recovery. This has led fans to wonder if Kaido's toughness, while immense, is still fundamentally physical, whereas the Gorosei and perhaps Imu possess a more hacks or magical form of invulnerability that puts them in a different category entirely. This all circles back to the source of his strength. Was it his devil fruit, his Oni lineage, or his haki? The reality is that it was a perfect, terrifying synergy of all three. His most spectacular techniques, like the Flaming Drum Dragon and Boro Breath, are clearly derived from his Uo Uo no Mi, Model Seiryu, but it was his haki-infused club that could knock a Gear 5 Luffy unconscious, and his inherent Oni toughness that allowed him to fight a gauntlet of Wano's strongest warriors, the Scabbards, the Supernovas, Yamato, and Luffy multiple times, all while physically lifting an entire island. The accusation that Kaido was nerfed to allow for Luffy's victory seems to miss the point of the entire war. His defeat wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a testament to his overwhelming strength. It took the combined might of an entire generation of warriors, a war of attrition on an unprecedented scale, and the literal awakening of a god, Joy Boy, to finally bring him down. Even in defeat, with his strength waning from holding up Onigashima, he was still pushing a fully awakened Luffy to his absolute limit. Ultimately, Kaido's legacy is that of the perfect warrior king. He may not have possessed the single most potent haki, the most indestructible body, or the most broken devil fruit in the world. Instead, he possessed all of these things at a near-peak level simultaneously. This combination of top-tier stats across every conceivable metric is precisely what made him the world's strongest creature. He wasn't a specialist, he was the final exam, a comprehensive monster who could only be overcome by a force that could literally bend reality to its will.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.